Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Minnie and today's topic is a highly requested one, so I decided to just do like a YouTube video because there's a lot of details I do want to share with you guys, and it is about weaning Bella off her dummy or pacifier, whatever you want to call it. So before we get started to the process of weaning, I just want to share a bit of backstory about Bella's pacifier journey. So Bella was actually a breastfeeding baby for the first 8 months of her life, and I know that a lot of breastfeeding babies, they don't actually need a pacifier. I think we started to introduce Bella's dummy probably around 3 months old, and the reason for that was because she's starting to use my breast as a pacifier. She would want to just suck on it even when she's not hungry. So I basically become like a human pacifier for her. It started to affect me physically and mentally. So when we first gave her the dummy, she was not interested at all. She was just spit it out. I remember trying so many different kinds of dummy. I think we probably tried at least 10 brands, and I finally found one that she likes. Basically designed to mimic the human nipple, and that saved my life, to be honest. So babies, when they were younger, they have like a really strong sucking reflex, and that is why Bella wants to constantly suck on something when she's not hungry. Of course, every baby can be different, but for Bella's case, she really wants to just suck on something, and I can't just sit there and let her suck on my breast 24 hours a day. But it is a life-saving decision for us. With that said, you don't have to give your baby a pacifier if you don't want to. So now let's get into the slow weaning process. Now this highly depends on how dependent your baby is on the dummy. Some baby, they'll just take the dummy for a nap or sleep, but some baby probably they'll take the dummy all day. You can see some babies sucking a dummy even when they're not sleeping. So if your baby is the latter, which is they depends on the dummy all day, so you might have to start by limiting the dummy to nap or bedtime. So Bella, when she was younger, we usually give her the dummy when she's feeling fussy, or when she's in the car seat and she's not happy to stay in the car seat. I give her the dummy and she will just stop crying. So we kind of use the dummy kind of to soothe and calm her when she's fussy. That is something you have to stop doing. That's the first step. So you only limit the dummy when you want to put your baby to nap or bedtime. So that's what we did once Bella turns 1 year old, and it's a very slow process. It's kind of like helping them get less dependent on the dummy as well. So now let's talk about the different method of weaning your baby off the dummy. So there are so many different ways to wean your baby off pacifier, but there's mainly 2 ways. One is a cold turkey, which is you just take the pasty away from your baby. And the second way is a gradual approach, so you slowly wean it off. And for the cold turkey method, that is the method I use to wean Bella off the pacifier, and I would say it's probably harder on the parents sometimes because it is kind of similar to sleep training. So now let's get into the details of weaning Bella off the pacifier. So on day 1, we did it during her bedtime. So for nap time, she still get her dummy. So I cut off her pacifier, so there's a hole in her pacifier. I gave her the pacifier, and to my surprise, it is really easy for the first night, and I'll show you what happens exactly. Just so you know, she called her pacifier Choo Choo. That's just kind of like the nickname for her pacifier. And Choo Choo? What are you doing? Oh, it's not working anymore. Is it? Uh-oh. There's no more Choo Choo. No more Choo Choo. You wanna say bye-bye to Choo Choo? You still want it?
No.
You wanna say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We don't want Choo Choo anymore, okay? Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Choo-choo, bye-bye.
Okay, Choo Choo, bye-bye, okay? So it was a very cute moment, and I was really surprised that it was that easy. And it kind of like she realized the pacifier is broken and she wouldn't ask for a new one because she probably didn't know, too young to know, I guess. And she just went off to bed. I will say, without the pacifier, she did take a bit longer to fall asleep, but she didn't cry, she didn't ask for the pacifier. So that's the first night. It was kind of easy breezy, except that she takes a bit longer to fall asleep. There may be some sort of crying when they wake up at night, in the middle of the night, and there's nothing there to kind of calm them or soothe them back to sleep, especially when they are used to having the pacifier. So when that happens, you might have to be there, maybe just calm them or do everything you can, but try not to give in and give them the pacifier. While on day one she has no problem falling asleep, it just takes a little bit longer, but she did wake up, I think about 3 to 4 times in the middle of the night. She didn't really cry, but she just woke up, looked around, she found her teddy bear. Luckily she got her teddy bear, and she just kind of falls back to sleep. When she wakes up, I was kind of like really on high stress, like, can you please go back to sleep, please, that kind of feeling. And luckily she did. I think she was like really tired that day. It was daycare day. The next morning she did wake up 2 hours earlier than her usual time. So normally she wakes up around 8 a.m. and the day we start weaning her off the pacifier, she woke up around 6 a.m. which is like 2 hours earlier than usual. So I think that was because she couldn't kind of fall back to sleep without the pacifier, especially in the morning, and we have to just all wake up early for that day. Now I do have to say it does get worse before it gets better, and the second day actually is the worst of all days. So the second day she had a full 45 minutes meltdown when I was putting her to nap. The good news is she didn't ask for the pacifier at all, even though she's like kind of frustrated and angry and sad maybe at the same time that she couldn't fall asleep. Obviously I didn't give in. I didn't give her the pacifier just to help her sleep. Even though she's been having a full meltdown for 45 minutes, she's just lying on the bed crying and crying. I think she's kind of angry as well, like she doesn't want me to touch her, she doesn't want me to hold her. So I kind of just sit right next to her, and all I can do is just be there for her. It is really hard to watch her crying like that, but there's nothing I can do, especially when she doesn't want me to touch her. So I just waited and let her get it all out. And once she's calmed down, I gave her the teddy bear and she fell asleep. Now this part is when most parents would give up and just give in. And my advice is that if you can, try to hold it in. If your baby allows you to, you just cuddle them, or you know, just be present. If they don't want you to touch them, in Bella's case, she doesn't want me to touch her at all, and she doesn't want cuddles, nothing. So I was just sitting right next to her, just kind of like watching her cry. I know it sounds really cruel, but your baby or your toddler is just protesting. It's not like you're hurting them. They're not hurting in any way. Even though they're crying and they're having a full meltdown, it can be hard for us to watch or listen and do nothing. But remember, this is part of the process. If you can go through this part, it will become easier later on. Remember that you are trying to do this for their sake. It's for good reasons, and remember that they will not cry like this every single day. So for day 2 bedtime, it was not difficult. It just takes a long time. There's no crying for bedtime, there's no asking for pacifier at all. But she did take a long time to fall asleep compared to the first day. So the first day, I think she kind of fell asleep within 45 minutes or so. But the second day, oh my gosh, it took her like 2 hours to fall asleep. And in the middle of the night, she did woke up a couple of times, just kind of similar to day 1. But it But again, there's no crying, and she also managed to fall back asleep with her teddy bear. Day 3 was a little bit easier. So nap time, she took a while to fall asleep. Normally nap time, she doesn't take long. Within 30 minutes, she will be asleep. But she took about 45 minutes. But there's no crying. There's no more crying. There's no meltdown. There's no tantrum. There's no protest. There's nothing. And her nap wasn't as long. So her nap on day 3 was about 1 hour nap. So usually she can take like 2 hours nap. When bedtime comes on day 3, she took a while to sleep still, and she did ask for the pacifier for day 3, and I just reminded her and say, do you remember you say bye-bye to Choo Choo? And she's like, okay, bye-bye Choo Choo, which is so cute. She kind of remember, but she kind of just want to confirm it maybe. So I kind of just remind her that we say bye-bye to your pacifier now, and we don't need them anymore. If you want to cuddle, you can cuddle mommy, or you can cuddle your teddy bear. So that is something you can do with your toddler as well. Day 3 bedtime, it took her about 1.5 hours to fall asleep, which is a little bit of improvement from day 2. Now let's move on to day 4. So day 4, she woke up around 7:30 a.m. so it's not 6 a.m. anymore, so which I think is an improvement. So she kind of starting to get used to not having the pacifier, and she's slowly adjusting her time, her waking up time, back to normal. And for nap time on day 4 onwards, it's completely back to normal, so she can just fall asleep within 30 minutes on day 4 nap, and her nap time lasts about 1.5 hours long. And day 4 bedtime, there's another improvement, is that it took her 1 hour to fall asleep. So you can see from day 2, 2 hours, day 3 is 1.5 hours, and day 4 it's 1 hour to fall asleep. So you can see the gradual improvement and the way she adjusts her timing. And I also want to mention that by day 4, her waking up in the middle of the night has decreased to just once, which is back to the normal. I would say by day 4, she has probably 90% adjusted to not having the pacifier. So by day 5, we are pretty sure that she has weaned off her pacifier. Like, she don't need them anymore. She's not asking for it anymore. Even for bedtime, she's not asking for it anymore. Her nap time is back to normal, and she naps just like normal on day 5. She naps 2.5 hours on day 5. She still wakes up around 7:30 in the morning, which is slightly earlier than her usual timing, like 8 a.m. But I'm happy with that. So here are some overall tips that I want to share with you about this whole weaning process. The first thing you want to do is to limit pacifier to only bedtime or nap time, or both. If you have been giving your baby a pacifier whenever they have a tantrum, or they are angry, or you just want them to stop screaming outside, whatever it is, stop doing that. You can only give them a pacifier when you're putting them to sleep. So that's the first step. Doesn't matter how hard they cry, how hard they protest. Remember, when they're crying for the pacifier, they're protesting. You are not hurting them in any way. You just have to remind yourself that this in the long term is good for a child. And the second step is to introduce like a second comforter if you want to, and also depending on your baby's age, maybe like a teddy bear or like a blanket or like a pillow, whatever you want to use, so that they can have like a comforter to go to when they wake up in the middle of the night and there's no pacifier, which is the main comforter or soother for them. So for Bella's case, we did introduce her a teddy bear. If you have seen my Instagram story, I think I introduced her teddy bear since about 2 months ago. So it's quite a long process, because I do want her to kind of get used to having a teddy bear to sleep with, so that when she wakes up in the middle of the night, she will have a teddy bear when she doesn't have the pacifier. And once they get used to the second comforter, then you can kind of start planning to wean them off the pacifier. And the third tips is, once you have decided when to wean your baby off the pacifier, be mentally ready. There will be protesting, crying, even sleepless night for the parents if you are weaning off the pacifier, but do keep in mind that this will pass if you just hang in there. So no matter how hard your baby is crying, no matter how hard it is on you, you just have to hang in there, and I promise it will get better. The fourth tips I have for you is it is very important that you talk to your family about your plan of weaning off the pacifier, especially when you are living with grandparents, your parents, whoever that's in the family, or whoever that lives in the same house, because you don't want to have other family members go and give your baby the pacifier when they're crying, when you have been trying so hard to wean them off. So it's good to have a sit down, talk to all your family members about your plan of weaning off your babies the pacifier, so that they all on board, they all understand. And you might have to explain to them that the baby will cry, the baby will protest, but don't give in. Just let you do your thing. It can be hard for them as well, but it is crucial that everyone is on board and no one's gonna sneak in and give that pacifier to your baby, because that will make all your effort goes to the drain. And the last tip that I have for you guys, which I find is quite important as well. So the reason why I don't wean Bella off the pacifier before she was 1 year old, because of her sucking reflex. And what I mean by that is babies, they usually have a really strong sucking reflex before 1 year old. In general, the sucking reflex will be gone around 7 months old in general, but of course every baby is unique. I kind of waited to make sure that Bella doesn't have the sucking reflex. The reason for this is because if you wean your baby off the pacifier when they still have a very strong sucking reflex, you might end up with a baby that's sucking on other things, such as their thumb, their toes, or something else that they will want to suck on, and that is something that you don't want to happen. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you are planning to wean your baby off the pacifier, make sure they don't have the sucking reflex anymore. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the whole process and all the tips are helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again on my next video. Bye!